From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I am Estefania Bravo. This is From the South. We begin in Venezuela with a strong show of defiance one day after the opposition's failed coup attempt. Thousands took to the streets to celebrate May Day and support the government of Nicolás Maduro. Our special contributor Mike Fox was at the demonstration earlier and sent us this report.
So I'm here in Western Caracas, just a couple of blocks from the President's Palace of Miraflores, where people are still arriving for this pro-Maduro march. They've been marching from around Caracas, many of them organized and concentrated as early as 10 a.m. this morning, and right now it's 5 p.m., so these people have been in the street for hours. Nicolás Maduro is expected to be speaking in just a couple of minutes, and these people are many of them are from the militias, which is kind of the community grassroots organizing, where people are prepared to pick up arms if necessary in the case of attempted coup or invasion from the U.S. government. Others are from communal councils and local kind of representative bodies and the local communities, comunas as well, and even the pobladores, which are the grassroots areas to kind of organize people around their housing. And like I said, they continue to arrive. There you go, Venezuela free. Yankee, go home.
And as Mike mentioned, President Maduro has addressed the mass demonstration. He said that the people of Venezuela were successful in stopping yesterday's failed coup and that the opposition is now isolated.
There is no way, and the people and the National Bolivarian Forces will never allow a coup d'etat from any sign in our homeland. And what happened in Altamira that I just described, there were only the coup plotters, and in the afternoon they fled away. And up until now they keep flying away. And the military and police forces are looking for them, for these coup plotters that are isolated. Simultaneously in all the country, the people from the beginning of the day were mobilized in the streets to say no to the coup d'etat and to say yes for the homeland, yes to the revolution. This coup d'etat that was pretended yesterday was directed personally from the White House, John Bolton. I denounce this. And I ask that this is investigated, these actions, illegal actions and coup plotter actions of John Bolton against the Venezuelan sovereignty and people from Venezuela.
President Maduro also called for a national dialogue session this weekend so citizens can share their ideas with the government.
In this direction, to make a call from today, but specifically on Saturday, Saturday 4th and Sunday 5th of May, I want to call to a great national journey of dialogue, of action, and of proposals of all the popular power to tell the Bolivarian government and to Nicolás Maduro what we have to change for a big changing.
On Tuesday, loyal soldiers of the Bolivarian government defended the Carlotta military air base as the opposition launched a coup attempt. Our correspondent, Madeline Garcia, has the story.
Rumors had spread on social media that military deserters had taken control of the Carlotta military base, but that was not true.
I want to deny the comments that have been circulating that the Carlotta airbase has been taken. We are all here at the airbase, officials, troops, staff, who are loyal to our commander Chavez, loyal to our commander-in-chief Nicolás Maduro. And I also want to say that a good part of those soldiers got in touch with me, and they went back to the base because they were deceived.
They were deceived and did everything they could to present themselves to their commander.
At 3 a.m. they sent us to look for rifles to the armory, and they told us that we are going to take over the Tocoran prison, because they have entered 1,000 rifles and they are going to take the prisoners out, so they can go and fight against the people. That meeting was going to be with 7 and FtS commands. They told us that we are going to leave from Altamira to the Tocoran prison, and we didn't. When we got there, what they did was, they gave us a bracelet, they blocked the road and told us that this was a coup d'etat.
They joined the rest of the troops to defend the military base. Suddenly shots were heard from the direction of the Altamira distributor next to the Carlotta base. That was the moment the military deserters and some civilians started firing their weapons. One of the loyal soldiers was ambushed in the middle of the operation to control the situation and managed to run from the coup perpetrators.
I don't know what to think. Turncoat soldiers. It's not possible that your own soldiers wearing the same uniform aim a rifle at you and say to you that they are going to kill you, knowing that we are one and the same.
The military base La Carlota was besieged. It was one of the targets of the deserters. The opponents managed to take down a part of the fence. Despite the deserters bringing down the perimeter height, the military didn't shoot at them. They opted for dialogue. The opponents managed to set on fire a part of the Air Force base. The fire destroyed motorcycles, vehicles, and an office. The military helicopters were sheltered. At the end of the day, the deserters couldn't take over the Carlotta military base, and the soldiers remained loyal.
People around the world are commemorating International Workers' Day with marches and rallies. The day originated in the U.S. in the 19th century when the labor union movement rose up against unjust working conditions and demanded better pay, reasonable hours, and paid leave. Thousands took to the streets in Ecuador to mark the day. Demonstrators joined a march in Quito organized by the main labor unions. They protested against a recent government accord with the International Monetary Fund and the precarious working conditions. People also demand a stronger fight against corruption and the right to have a decent job.
Women have precarious labor conditions with smaller salaries, and that is causing the income decrease for families. In Ecuador, more than 50% of women are the main providers, and the low salaries are affecting not only families, but the people in general.
We are fighting for workers' rights. We fight for our children. What are they going to do in the future? We are fighting now for the future, for our children, for the future of our country.
The Bolivian president sent a message to workers in the country congratulating them for their work.
In this historic day for the workers in Bolivia, I congratulate you. I perfectly remember when in previous years, when the neoliberal governments were in power, people lived this day in a hunger strike or in a national strike in the streets. The campesino movement blocked roads. There were no commemorations. Now I thank very much for participating in this march to pay tribute to the workers.
Thousands gathered in Cuba since 5 in the morning to take part in the traditional May Day March in Havana and Santiago de Cuba. Children, students, and workers are commemorating the achievements for workers in one of the most important events of the Cuban Revolution. Presidents Miguel Díaz-Canel and Raúl Castro are also attending the celebration. Celebrations have been ongoing throughout the day. Marchers are waving flags and bearing placards with revolutionary slogans. Meanwhile, in Chile, police heavily repressed protesters who were demonstrating in the streets of Santiago. Police fired tear gas and water cannons against demonstrators who had set barricades on fire. Thousands of workers joined the protests organized by the country's main labor unions. They protested against high unemployment and work discrimination.
We are oppressed, we are exploited, and the only thing that matters is the good of others, not of us as workers who are contributing to the country, but are not listened to.
Our correspondent in Santiago, Paula Dragnik, has more.
We have been following two protests here. One of the two was heavily repressed by riot police even before it started. And even organized for union leaders to speak was suspended due to the police, and close to 100 people were arrested. Several people were also injured by rubber bullets fired by the police on demonstrators. May 1st take place ahead of a change to labor policies, which have been very controversial. It is not known what the reform includes exactly. So workers have been protesting against it and the lack of information. One measure related to women was recently made known, saying that a company is no longer forced to pay for transport of the women who need to breastfeed. Those are some of the rights workers have been losing and which affect mainly women. Finally, the Chilean workers sent their solidarity to Venezuelan people.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Colombian Senate is once again voting on the objections put forth by President Iván Duque to the statutory law for the special jurisdiction for peace. Following a long session on Tuesday where the objections were debated, no consensus was reached by lawmakers. On Wednesday, they started a new session hoping to achieve the necessary votes to either approve or reject the president's objections. In March, President Duque presented a number of objections he had to the statutory law. Many criticized this as a stalling tactic to continue on doing the 2016 peace accords signed with the FARC. Hundreds of people have been affected by a major landslide in the capital of Bolivia. Several houses collapsed due to heavy rains. Emergency services evacuated residents before the houses collapsed. The neighborhood was built in an unstable soil and top of an old landfill.
Everything was destroyed in a landslide. We didn't have any time to get belongings. Regardless, I escaped with my children. I have nothing. I have lost everything. I need help.
Rescue groups are going to look for 3 people who are missing. Also to help families find the belongings in areas where there is no risk. There is still the risk of landslides for rescuers and families, so that's why that part is sealed off.
Dominican Republic has reiterated its commitment to contribute to the sustainability and sustenance of Leeward Island's air transport. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit says a tremendous economic dislocation could be caused if Leyte were to go under. He has called on the countries in the Caribbean to recognize the importance of Leyte. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is part of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, has denounced the attempted coup on Venezuela on Tuesday. The alliance says the attempt undermined the constitutional order of Venezuela. It's calling on the international community to respond to the coup attempt and assess the possible consequences of the situation. The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa commemorated Workers' Day with a strong swipe at capitalism. The union blamed capitalist systems for causing crisis and a bleak future for emerging economies. It said South Africa has failed to build its own manufacturing industry and increase industrialization because of this capital system, which does not promote workers' welfare. The union also expressed displeasure at the move by government to privatize companies, saying this will cause unemployment. South African athlete Caster Semenya has lost a court challenge against IAAF testosterone rules. The South African runner lost her challenge against rules forcing female athletes to regulate their testosterone levels. Semenya, a double Olympic champion, was fighting measures imposed by the International Association of Athletics Federations that compel hyperandrogenetic athletes or those with differences of sexual development to lower their testosterone levels if they wish to compete as women. South Africans have accused the International Association of Athletics Federations of discriminations against Semenya. Many have said they are disappointed by the decision.
They need to leave Caster alone. As South Africans, we love Caster and will continue supporting her all the way as she keeps winning. They need to leave her alone. We have accepted her the way she is, so there is nothing they can do. We love her as South African women.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. French riot police fired tear gas against demonstrators as tens of thousands attended a Workers' Day rally in Paris. Police also fired water cannons at the crowd. Yellow vests, labor unions, and anti-capitalists joined forces to march. Around 160,000 people took to the streets around the country. According to the police, at least 330 people were arrested.
This year has got a special air about it. It's true. This year I'm in yellow, as opposed to most years when I'm in red. But I think it's very good that everyone united together. And I wouldn't like to say that unions were on the slide, but it was a bit hard for them in terms of membership. I think it's really good that the yellow vests join in with that, and that the unions join the yellow vests, and that it works both ways. It's only going to help win the fight.
Britain's parliament has declared a climate change emergency following a call from opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn. However, the measure was passed as an opposition motion, so it has no direct consequences for policy. The vote followed the 11-day protest that shut down parts of central London.
Closely with countries that are serious about rights, women's rights, gay rights. Parliament rarely leads change. It usually drags its feet. It's normally the last place to pick up on the major reforms that society is demanding. Think about the huge transformations in our society. Workers' rights, women's rights, gay rights. The impetus has always come from outside, from social movements and communities, while Westminster is often the last place to understand that. Let us not repeat that pattern. Let's respond to what a young generation is saying to us and raising an alarm. So by becoming the first parliament in the world to declare a climate emergency, we could, and I hope we do, set off a wave of actions from parliaments and governments all around the world.
UK Prime Minister Theresa May has sacked Defence Minister Gavin Williamson over a leak involving Chinese company Huawei. Williamson denied he was responsible for the leak from National Security Council. The sensitive information was reported by The Telegraph, and it detailed how Britain would allow Huawei a role in building parts of its 5G network. The revelation has set London at odds with Washington over the next generation of communications technology. U.S. Attorney General William Barr has appeared before a Senate panel to face questions about his handling of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. This comes following reports that Mueller questioned how Barr handled his investigation in a letter to the Attorney General. Barr has been accused of misrepresenting the document, which details how Trump tried to impede the probe. Democrats say Barr is trying to protect Trump. U.S. Congress member Ilhan Omar criticized the Trump administration's policies towards Venezuela during an interview on Democracy Now!
A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela, and we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene and regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States.
Congressmember Omar also talked about her questioning of Elliot Abrams, Trump's special envoy for Venezuela.
Abrams, neocons and warmongers, for so long have pushed for policies that are now, we can see not only in Central America but many parts of the world, the kind of devastations that they've had for decades. I could not pass up the opportunity to not only remind the American people that this was someone who was convicted of lying to Congress, but also someone who had a heavy hand in some of the most devastating policies that we imposed on Central America, and that there is a direct correlation between the kind of mass migration that we're noticing right now from Central America and South America to this country.
Brazil has been paying its respects to one of its greatest ever samba stars. Beth Carvalho died on Tuesday at the age of 71. Celebrities and fans joined her family to sing their farewell at a wake hosted by Botafogo Football Club in Rio de Janeiro. Beth Carvalho was one of the founders of Samba Pagode. During Brazil's military dictatorship, her lyrics often celebrated the resilience of the poor. Last year, she sang for the release of Lula da Silva from prison. We leave you with that, her final recorded song.
Brasil andar pra frente, vamos caminhar. Seja o elo da corrente, vamos caminhar. O povo quer, o povo decide, o povo diz. Nós queremos Lula andando livre do país. Vai pro Brasil andar pra frente, vamos caminhar. Seja o elo da corrente, vamos caminhar. O povo quer, o povo decide, o povo diz. Nós queremos Lula andando livre no país. Ele une o país, semeando amor. Esse povo tão sofrido, trabalhador. A sua meta é ver o povo com igualdade, alimento, moral.